Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode of Two Broke Brokers. I am Josh and with me as always is...
Daniel.
We're getting better at our intros as we go along. Episode 19, we're one away from 20.
Fantastic.
Full episodes, yeah.
That's us, committed as always.
Still here, still going. We've actually done research for today's episode, always exciting.
Research is a fine thing when you do it properly now. what I've got is definitely some pointers. I think we concluded on this last week, Josh, that we will be talking about
narcissists and how to spot them / deal with them and everything about them. We should precursor by saying I did the psychology A level, but I think I barely passed it. I think I got a C, and that was like 6 years ago. I can't really remember anything. We're not qualified to be speaking about this. With me, I'm going to be pulling from my own experience.
And I've done a fair bit of research, I would say, from those who are said qualified. But also when you think about it, psychology does everything in life. Like, you can use it with anything, and at the end of the day, if you can read people, then you know there is a psychology of sales at the end of the day, isn't there? So
yeah, of course. Actually, yeah, that's a good way of tying it back to real estate.
Back to real estate, you can definitely safely say that the psychology is greatly important.
Yeah.
Because we've passed this already, but people say no when they mean yes. People say yes when they mean no.
Are you going to mention the J person today? It's been a while since you brought him up.
Who's J?
Josh Vegan.
Oh no, I'm not. The J word.
Psychology of sales and stuff. I thought that's where this was headed.
No, I didn't research using him actually.
No,
it'd be too hard to find, man. He talks about discipline.
Everything, yeah, discipline. Well, speaking of discipline, Dan.
Don't even bother.
How's the book going?
Shut the fuck up. Let's move on.
Any updates in the past week?
So why don't you tell us about...
Well, come on, how has your week been?
My week's been... it's been stressful, mate. I've got my smartwatch on and it's had nothing but orange for my stress levels. I'm thinking, why is that? But I know why it is. My blood level is high because I'm not eating properly. This whole week and the end of last week, just not eating properly, mate. I've just been stressed as fuck.
What do you think it is that's the main cause of your stress?
It's just these deals, man. They're just not getting through. It's stressful business, I'll tell you that. And I'd love to say that the potential in this market is amazing. And even if I was to make £30,000 next month,
you'd still be stressed though,
see before you get that money, you're like, is it fucking worth it? Is it fucking worth it? Touch wood, it'll happen, inshallah. And you say all this and then it's like, right, okay, when is it in my account? Come on.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're getting there. Things are going. There's progress, inshallah. It will all be done next month.
So a couple of deals on the horizon, a couple of big deals on the horizon.
Yeah, right? It's just another month not hitting those targets, and it's painful, man, when you know you should have smashed it.
Especially because you were so close to seniority as well, right?
Yeah, and now it's just like, my streak is just not... Next month, inshallah, I will close fucking 3 big deals.
There you go.
And it's like, right, okay, you almost hit senior, and then, right, you didn't hit your targets that month. Daniel, you didn't hit your targets this month. Next month, oh, you just hit the whole year. And like, oh, but we're not going to make you senior.
It's mad, isn't it?
You're just not consistent enough. And which is fair enough, whatever, man. But that's how my week's been.
That's part of the game. But so do you find that, just breaking this down, that possibility of seniority, and the company you work for, you have to hit your target 3 months consecutively to become a senior broker?
That's one of the boxes to tick, yeah, for sure. And although it would be nice to be senior, I honestly don't care. I just want to make a lot of money.
Yeah, so one of the benefits of seniority is an extra 5% in commission.
Yeah, and that doesn't mean much to me. And the title doesn't mean much. I want to do my job good. At the end of the day, I want to be the best.
And seniority will be a sort of...
It will just be...
It will just happen by you doing a job.
Yeah,
But my question is, do you find it a motivating factor, or do you find it demoralising when you come so close to it and then, through no fault of your own?
To be honest, to me it just says it's not your time.
Okay.
Now, anyone can get seniority out of dumb luck and whatever else.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
From what I've experienced, this is the most consistent I've been making money for the past 6 months.
Yeah.
This has been very good. Even if I haven't hit targets in some months and I've not got that seniority, we are hitting, I'm making money. It's not like last year where I was eating kidney beans out of the tin and shitting my pants when rent was coming out. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's stressful in a much different way. Like the deals when they're bigger there's just the obstacles are bigger.
Yeah.
And thankfully I have been able to talk to someone with experience who can help me out in certain situations, because although you think you know it all sometimes, you don't know everything until you've been through everything and learned from it. And I've done nothing but learn this past few weeks, because these deals aren't closing and I need to push it to levels beyond that I've ever experienced to close those deals. Yes, I'm learning a lot, but the learning is fucking stressful.
And is that learning from the people around you, or the potential, the new head of people, or is it literally just from you going through this on your own and you're learning?
I'm learning
from your own experience, as you said,
through the processes of others. For example, these clients are coming up with obstacles that I've never seen before.
Right.
And you need to learn. You need to still look competent. You need to look everything and be able to give them positivity. You need to be able to give them assurance and confidence.
Yeah, okay.
They need that, because if they don't have confidence in the deal, they won't fucking do the deal. It's as simple as that. So you need to be one step ahead of the game. What else could they say? What else could they do? I've learned a lot about tax. I've learned a lot about managers' checks and actually doing a sale. I've learned a lot about consequences of non-payment and how to make addendums that are useless in DLD to look to be worded correctly.
Okay.
Because now I'm in situations where a third-party lawyer is involved and we're talking with them. I'm like, right, I need to do this. But every time I go into the next meeting, I need to be prepared for the what I would say is the atmosphere that I want in this. My goal is not just to have them understand. My goal is also to have them feel comfortable by the end of this conversation.
Okay.
And when you've got all that going on in two sides, being the mediator, that's what you are.
Yeah, but that's an agent's job.
It's
absolutely.
it's crazy sort of, and it's when you're in the middle, right, and you're taking the bullshit from both sides, and you soften it up and make it clear on both sides, and you realise these guys are actually pretty content, but you're fucking sweating in the middle, shitting your pants 24/7. It's crazy.
And that's when you feel like your fee is justified as well, right? Because you are working.
But they don't feel like that because it's portrayed in a comfortable manner to them.
Yeah, because you're giving off
I've sorted all the bullshit. Nothing to worry about, guys. There's your answers. And then they're like, okay, but I have all these questions. It's like, oh my god, here we go. Anyway, my week's been a bit hectic, so as last week. It's been stressful. Just a lot weighing on my shoulders to get things across the line, but there's always a solution. And when there's always a solution, fucking hell, that's a lot of time. Because you just go from A to B to C to D to E.
But what an absolute learning curve for you there, right?
Yeah. It's experience. I know I'll be so much more confident the next time. And that only comes with experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
So it's the same in any job. Yeah, I've learned a lot this week. I'll be confident next time, but it's taking its toll on
good man.
the stress levels.
Good man. Good, yeah.
How's your week been?
Yeah, my week in comparison has been pretty chilled actually. So I'm in a transition period for the third time since we've been doing this podcast, I think.
It has been.
I think it's the third
Did you say 19 episodes?
Yeah, that's terrible, isn't
19 episodes, this is Josh's third transition.
What's 19 divided by 3?
6 and a third.
So that makes it look like every 6 weeks I'm changing jobs. That is not the case. There's been quite a few breaks in between. So yeah, I won't tell you what I'm moving on to until I start next week, so we'll save that for then. But I've been in this weird sort of transition period, dealing with narcissistic people, which is what we're going to come to in a bit.
Narcissism. This is the thing though. After today's episode, you can be confident with calling someone a narcissist, because we're going to tell you what a fucking narcissist is. Should I start with telling you what a narcissist is before you get into your examples?
Well, let's run through the news quickly and then let's jump into that.
Right, news.
So, the most important thing this week, I think, that's been announced, and was only announced like an hour ago, is the Palm Jebel Ali is going ahead. It's been confirmed to be twice the size of the Palm Jumeirah. It's a little bit further south, down the coast. I think it started maybe quite a while ago, maybe even 10 years ago, and I think the contractor ran out of money. It's now got government funding. The Sheikh Mohammed has confirmed this. So, really exciting project. Yeah, I think it's been unofficially announced for quite a while, but it's now out, it's in the news. That is going to be the next big development in Dubai.
That is a good thing to a certain extent. I think obviously the plots, they'll be sold cheap at first. In fact, they won't be.
I think it's going to be
because everyone who's bought them in the past before the crash in 2008, they've been felt so much sting off of arbitration and law and trying to get their money back through force majeure and other things.
Yeah, exactly.
Man, it's an insane amount of claims that have been going on since there, and if someone still hasn't sorted that out and they're trying to resell, they paid, millions in lawyers' fees trying to do something about it. Fucking hell. And you're talking about someone who's built a plot, they've got a contractor, they've done all this work, and then boom, like they have. When I say work, I mean design and everything else.
Yeah.
Anyway,
it's interesting. I think the most interesting point of that though is that's going to shift the entire sort of geography of Dubai, because at the minute, downtown is the hottest place. Marina is really as low as you will ever go in Dubai. Right?
That is now the centre.
That's exactly
Jebel
what
Ali.
I mean, man.
And it's probably a good time to buy within these, like Al Farjan, Jebel Ali Village.
Jebel Ali Village. Well, a hot tip. Don't worry, I used the end of the pen. Right. A hot tip is Emaar released a development last year, Emaar South, which is sort of down towards Garhoud or Al Maktoum International Airport, right? So really way far down south. And it's been quite slow. I think there's still quite a fair bit of stock there and everything. It didn't really sell because it's in the outskirts of Dubai in airport miles.
But no, that'll be...
This is going to totally flip it, I reckon, man. I think this is going to totally flip it.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, really interesting. In other news, I think the rest of it has all just been sort of gibberish, really. All right, so...
Kiss.
No, I've edited that out.
All right.
Narcissism.
Right, you want to jump into that? Then let's go. Should I talk first about what a narcissist is?
Yeah, go for it. So you've done the research. I'm just going to be talking from my experience and from what I've researched over the past year, having dealt with 2 narcissists. So you fire away, and I'll sort of come in with any sort of information I've got.
So I'll start off with how does a narcissist operate? So
did you not want to start with how to spot a narcissist?
Well, this is how they operate, and you'll spot it through how they run, right? You got a bottle opener?
There.
Oh, yeah, okay. So...
I would like to point out my bottle opener is always on the fridge, and you know that. You could have got up and gone and got it yourself, but instead you asked me to go and get it for you.
No, I said, have you got a bottle opener? Because I saw you just open a beer.
No, you were demanding I open the beer for you.
That's not true.
That's so true.
That's not true.
That is exactly what just happened.
That's not.
That's exactly what just happened.
I swear to God.
It's fine.
Cross my heart.
There's your beer. Go on.
Fuck you. For not opening my beer. So, how a narcissist operates, right?
Go on.
So you need to think of a narcissist as like an AI program, right?
Okay.
Now, these people are not as emotionally intelligent as those who are not narcissists.
Yeah, okay.
But they can learn. They can
portray it.
They can learn. Now, these people seek to generate emotions and reactions in other people. And counteracting that, if you give them an emotional and response and something that you react to what they say,
they thrive.
Then they live off it.
Yeah.
They live off of emotion, reactions, and fear, to be honest. Now, that turns into a cycle because anything you tell these people, they use it as ammunition in the future. So, yeah, they take action from reaction. This is their power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Now, when you tell a narcissist personal stuff about yourself, you're opening up to them,
Yep.
and you tell them all this, they will use it to their power.
Absolutely.
Because to you, to them, you're not a person.
Yep.
You're something that they can use to their advantage.
Exactly.
And the more you open up, the more ammunition they have on you, the more they can manipulate you to do things that they want you to do.
Absolutely. And you find they never forget as well. They will hold on to every little thing that you say. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
They lack empathy.
Yep.
They take things personally.
Yep.
And they get rattled very easily.
Yep.
They get hyped up. They're like, why the fuck do you do this?
Yeah.
And they'll be like testing you.
Yeah.
Why, I'm so angry at you because you did this and that, and you told me you were going there and you didn't do that. What's going on? I'm shouting at you. And you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
They're paranoid is what it is. Yeah, absolutely.
Paranoia, you could say, yeah. So there's I've looked into sort of how they work. They operate off reaction,
Yep.
Emotion, ammunition of understanding you. They will want to figure you out.
Yeah.
That's their main goal. They want to figure you out so they can use you for themselves.
Absolutely, mate. Absolutely.
Now, there's a few things that after I figured that out myself and used it to my advantage,
I was going to say, it's quite ironic that the two people doing a podcast that are so fond of their own voice, they're doing a podcast, are now talking about narcissists.
Right, well, the thing is that there's a few ways you can tackle it. You can fight fire with fire. Or you can understand them, put them in line, whatever. So, ways of dealing with them. Number one, you state their name in conversations. You need to make sure that they know you're not afraid of them. And stating their name and looking them in the eyes can portray this comfortability about your position with them and your relationship with them. It's like, I'm not scared to look at you in the eyes and talk to you.
Yeah.
And say your name. Even though you want me to be scared because you thrive off of fear.
Yeah.
Now, when you have a debate with them or you're talking and they change the subjects to other things because you haven't finished one point. They're trying to test you. They're pushing your buttons. They say one thing with no evidence, and then they jump to the next thing with no evidence. They jump to the next thing. You need to be strong enough to say, no, let's go back to what you were talking about. You're changing the conversation.
Yeah. So just on that really quickly is that a trait of a narcissist is that it's sort of matter of fact without any evidence. So the reason they jump from one to the other is because they know their argument or their evidence is flimsy as a hell.
Yeah.
So they move from one to the other to try and manipulate or confuse you so that you move on and they feel like they've won. So that's,
yeah, well said. So like I said, you've got more emotional intelligence, right? Or you should. So bring it back to the point. And although it's very frustrating, you cannot give in to them trying to push your buttons. When they change topics, say, no, I want to talk about this because that's what we're talking about. So let's talk about it then.
Yeah.
Get to that point, keep cool, calm, collected. As soon as you show emotion, they're fucking loving it.
Yeah.
Because they know they're getting close, right? To your breaking point where you say things that you don't mean. And they can use that against you.
No, I like that.
So, I don't know what I'm on, but you're not a punch bag for them to just shout at you constantly because that's what they do.
Yeah.
They will keep shouting at you, trying to drive reactions, and you need to be able to put your foot down at the start and say, you can't talk to me like that.
Yeah.
And
yeah, that's a good point.
You can't, it's just not professional way of talking.
Yeah.
I'm saying this in a cool, calm manner. The way you're talking to me is actually very disrespectful.
Yeah.
And you don't need to justify anything else. You know why? because they hate fucking silence.
Yeah. Yeah.
If you are silent, then they have nothing to react off of. Like, seriously, you can say, no, I don't accept that. You're being very unprofessional. You're shouting at me. I don't like it. I don't like the way you're talking to me right now.
Yeah.
And that's it. Just let them say the next words. And if they keep shouting, just sit there in silence. Or
because there's nothing to feed off. Yeah, exactly.
yeah, they've got nothing. They'll just shout and then fucking quit your job. I don't know. Anyway, so finding the truth. They obviously lie and manipulate.
Yeah.
And you may suspect that it's a lie because you're just getting that vibe. This guy's talking shite. You find out the truth.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Find it out, because
the truth is the greatest weapon. Yeah.
Because as soon as you got it, then you know. You call them out on their deception. Once you figure out the truth, once you know, if you know already, it's like, no, that doesn't make sense. You call them out and you write it down. Everything you say to them, talk to them about, write it down.
Yeah.
If you want to record the conversation, ask them. Is it okay if I record this conversation? I know that, like, you don't usually do that in a normal conversation.
But sometimes you have
if
to.
You have to, then
exactly.
do it.
Yeah. And
like,
that could be protecting yourself as well. But yeah, go on.
Yeah, that was actually a point. They said write it down, record it if you can. So yeah, narcs need fear. I'm calling them narcs now.
Yeah,
narcissists need fear. They feed their ego.
Yeah.
Now, because they've got an ego that's the size of, the biggest shit man has ever taken, they thrive off it.
Yeah.
So you never feed that ego.
Yeah.
If he's not good at, if he or she is not good at something, then don't tell them that they are just because they want you to. Just don't say it. Because the fact that you told them they're good at something, they will use you to back them up.
Yeah.
And they'll say, but you said. They'll remember.
Yeah.
But you said I was good at that. You told me to keep going.
Yeah.
You told me to continue. That's why I did it. And now this is all going to shit. It's your fault. But you did it. No, it doesn't fucking matter. You told me. So that's something. Just don't.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Don't give them compliments in general.
Yeah.
Don't feed that ego. Don't use ultimatums.
Yeah, that's huge.
Because they will just use them against you.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a massive one to be
fair. There's something I was going to say, something that popped into my head. Feels them because the fact you said it against them. If you give them compliments, then I forgot. I had something good.
Well, if you don't mind, whilst you're trying to think of it, I'm going to just sort of go, not break it down, but I agree with all of your points. But it depends on what situation you're in, right? So I've just jotted down a few things as you go along. So you're talking about confronting a narcissist, but there are some situations that you're in where you can't do that. For example, the past 6 months, my boss, my employer, has been a massive narcissist. So I've been looking at finding ways of placating a narcissist without confronting them.
Yeah.
And a thing that kept on coming up in my research was becoming a target of conflict. And what that is when you do confront a narcissist, or when something does go wrong, is that you then become their obsession.
Yeah.
And they will go out of their way to attack you. So a few of the things that I read over the past 6 months, again, not recently, so I can't quote you on anything, but you said use their name and look them in the eyes. When you're placating a narcissist, that's one of the worst things that you can do. And this experiment took it back to literally primal, or our primates, or gorillas, whatever you want to fucking call them. And it's that if you look a gorilla or a monkey in the eye, it gets angry with you. If you look a narcissist in the eye, you're personalising the conversation. You're making it a really personal conversation, and using their name as well. If you keep on saying that name over and over again, you're personalising the conversation.
That's true, right? But if I was to argue, I'd say we're not fucking apes. Now, I'm not going to sit in front of a fucking ape and go, that's a narcissist fuck. Like, I'm going to look it in the eyes and say, you're a gorilla.
No.
But we are civil human beings.
Agreed.
And at the end of the day, I should not be scared by anyone.
But the point with the eye contact thing in particular is that that's the human body language equivalent of silence. if you're looking a narcissist dead in the eye, you're giving them your full attention. They're feeding off of that. That's the equivalent of a lack of silence in the room, right? So all the research I read is if you don't look a narcissist in the eye when they're talking to you, they will very quickly lose interest and they'll move on to their next target. So again, I'm coming at it from a how to handle a narcissist rather than how to confront a narcissist.
Well, one of the points, the major points, is distance from these people, because the more they know about you and how you work and how you act, they'll use it against you or whatever.
Yeah.
And I got some advice from a psychologist who says sometimes you need to manipulate them and lie. If you want to say that you've got a kid, then tell them you've got a kid, even if you don't have one. Tell them you've got a really bad toothache that's been killing you and you need to consistently go to the dentist. That's why you don't answer your calls at certain times, because you got some guy with fucking clamps in your mouth. Like,
that's brilliant. Yeah.
Apparently you are. That's a way of fighting fire with fire.
Yeah.
You are busy. Why can you never come out on a Friday night with the team
because I've got family,
teamwork with us? Because I have a lot of commitments that I need to do. I've got side hustles. I'm building a business in this. What's it called? It's not released yet. We've been working on the name. We're mainly figuring out the business plan. It's we're going to involve a lot of partners, so it's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, like, you make shit up and
no, that's...
try and give them very little detail.
Yeah, that's something that I came across with it as well, is sometimes you have to lie about your personal life, but again, that's really hard if you're in a relationship where this is your employer. Or, again, I don't have any experience with this, but being in a relationship with a narcissist, that then becomes really difficult, right? How do you do that?
If they're with you on everyday life, then they'll investigate it themselves if they suspect that you're lying. So,
and then what's the comeback if they do find out that you're lying? Because then you've riled the narcissist, you then become the target of conflict again, and then that narcissist, because they're so egocentric, because they're so narrow-minded and emotionally unintelligent, as you said, they put their blinkers on and all of a sudden you're all they can see.
Well, if it comes, you just got to sort those things out. As like, don't give them like stupid stuff like I just said, like the business, right? When it comes to the dentist, just say, oh, it's someone on Jumeirah Village. I've been to like 3 of them.
Yeah.
They're all saying the same thing.
Yeah.
And just don't say anything. They don't like silence.
Exactly. No, you're absolutely right.
And if they keep asking, it says, well, does it fucking matter?
Yeah, is it any of your business? Yeah, but it's a really fine line to sort of tend. The other thing that you mentioned is that you need to keep on bringing it back to the point and calling them out. I definitely agree with the bringing it back to the point, but the whole calling them out thing is when you're trying to placate a narcissist, again, to try and avoid becoming that target of conflict, sometimes it's easier to swallow your own pride and just say, okay. Don't agree with them. You mentioned about feeding their ego, right?
Yeah.
So you have to pay a narcissist compliments as a shield, as a protection. As soon as you start calling a narcissist out, they're like, why is this person calling me out? I need to explore into this further. So when you're in an
at the same time, he's looking for someone he can manipulate. And at the start, if he realises you cannot be manipulated, because you've just called him out, and what the fuck are you doing?
But that's my point. If he realises that, or if she realises that, then you're fucked. Right?
Well, they've got someone else to move on to now.
I disagree. Then you become the person.
If you're employed by this person, is a different story. But if they're just part of a group, you can easily distance yourself from them.
Yeah, it's easier if you're in part of a group. If it's on like a social level, then you can just flat out cut a narcissist out of your life.
It's not hard, really.
But what happens if you're dating someone for a year and then you've moved in with them, you're sharing the rent, you've just bought a house together, turns out they're a narcissist? What happens if your boss who pays your bills at the end of every month is a narcissist? It's different ways of dealing with it. It's all and I agree, the best way to stop a narcissist over time is by calling them out. And hopefully the repetition.
Maybe you're right about the keeping it quiet thing. So when you realise your girlfriend, for example, is a narcissist, and you've moved in with them, and it's like, oh fuck, this woman is fucked, man. What am I going to do? All right, don't break up with her there and then. Find the truth. how do I figure out that she is really a narcissist, right?
Yeah.
So you get skeptical, things change, and yeah, her attention is on you all the time. You'll figure that out, but just get some evidence, right?
But
at the end of the day, break the fuck up with her.
No, but that's my point.
And they'll probably have a million bits of ammunition on you
of course,
to say that you're the bad guy.
But so that's what I mean.
You know, fucking hell, but I'm not the bad guy. Why am I always in trouble for doing simple things? I talk to my friends, they don't get into trouble for this.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. Don't call them out. If the way to exit
don't
that
call them out yet. But you'll need to break up with that bitch.
Yes, but this is the point. You break up with them when you've got an exit plan. If you share a mortgage, you can't just wake up one morning and go, right, fuck you, see you later, right? You have to take the steps. What do you do whilst you're making those steps?
You don't let them know that they
You don't let them know. And the best way to do that, you have to fuel their ego to keep the target of conflict off of yourself.
Oh, you're right, baby girl. I'm just gonna, I'll clean the dishes tonight.
It sounds stupid, but you have to, man. You have to,
that
you
works.
become the target.
That
but
works.
And again, we're going down some very scary routes here. I think we need to take it away from the relationship because this is like borderline. We're going to start talking about domestic abuse and stuff like that in a minute. You like.
You just brought it up.
Let's
talk about it.
No, let's not fucking talk about it. But you can't placate them to the point where you're allowing them to get away with stuff that's potentially damaging. But there are circumstances where you can't. Right, let's bring it back to me. Right, I was employed by a narcissistic boss.
Give me your examples. Can we?
Yeah, we can't talk about relationships because, unfortunate enough, and I think you are as well. We're not in relationship with narcissistic people, and I don't think I have been either. So let's bring it back to what we know we're talking about. I have been dealing with a narcissistic boss for at least the past 6 months, probably the past year, depending on how you want to describe my last boss. But I've been in a position where I can't just tell my boss, "Fuck you," and leave, right? I have to have another job lined up, and that takes time.
You need a visa, you need all this
exactly,
sort of stuff.
Right?
Yeah.
So I've been in a position where I have to placate a narcissist, right? I can't
You have to cooperate.
I have to cooperate. And the best way to do that, again, I bring it back to this target of conflict thing, is just get the target off of your back. Make all the amends you can to get the hell out of the relationship, mine being employment, but just keep the employer off of your back. And the best way to do that is to feed their ego a little bit. Because if you are feeding their ego, okay, you're enabling them, but you're still making your own exit in the background. And I imagine it's the same if you're in a relationship. So when that relationship then comes to an end, and it's easier with employment because employment ends, new employment begins. That's a clear break. It's probably a bit of blurred lines when you're in a relationship. But then you can confront them. Because then, whilst you're still employed with them, they have power over you. They can not pay you. They can, mess up your visa. They can write you a bad reference. All of these things are sort of floating in the air, right?
True.
So you have to placate a narcissist at certain points to ensure that you get an easy exit. So I've had to do that by feeding egos. And I'm not saying you should be saying to them, "You're the greatest, I agree with every decision you're making, you're the best, blah, blah, blah." But it's just not questioning it. Because the second you question it, that's when you're putting the target.
You're the boss.
Exactly. Okay, yeah, if that's what you think, then no, that's fine. Oh, right, okay, yeah, I understand your point of view.
It's not my
fine.
it's not within my power to decide that. What do you think?
Exactly. You just completely shift it, put it back on them.
But what's your opinion?
And that's right, because when you become the target
But
of
when they
conflict,
ask for opinions, how do you deal with that?
how I had to deal with it personally is simply shifting the blame. And so what I would do
You
is...
blame your pals?
No, not shifting the blame, sorry, shifting the responsibility. So let's say, for example, I got asked a real estate question, knowing full well that whatever answer I give, if I'm even a cent... So the example for me is, what price should we rent this unit at? Right? That was the biggest comeback I ever had. When I first started in this job, I would give a price, it would then be sat on the market for 2 or 3 weeks, and then I'm the target of conflict because I got that wrong. But you told me this price, you did this, you did that, why is it not renting? This is all on you, this is all on you. So what I had to learn to do was come at him with the evidence, the facts, the property monitor reports, the area reports, what the current market is going for, present that to him, and then say, this is the data that I've collected and this is my opinion. However, you run this business, you clearly know what you're doing. What do you think? And because the narcissist is so egotistical, they jump at that opportunity and then they spill out what they say, and then you've tricked them into making the decision. So once the decision has been made, you can then, if it then goes tits up, if the price is then too high, you can then turn around and go, okay, I understand the price was too high and that you took my advice on this. I just want to confirm, this is what I told you. This was the data that I showed you. It was your advice and your final decision. That's why we proceeded at this point. So that's your sort of find the truth, right? That's what you say, but you're not confronting them. You're not putting your opinion out there. You're not putting your neck on the line.
Nothing but facts.
Yeah, but I really struggled with that, because as a real estate broker, to come in and to then effectively hand over that power, I've been doing it for a year and a half, right? And then all of a sudden, I have to pretend I'm not an expert. I have to just present and then accept what that person says. And that was really difficult for me. And I really struggled with that before I knew I was exiting.
Yeah.
And that's why I had so many blowouts, and that's why I had such a difficult relationship with this guy. As soon as I started doing that, and I said, do you know what? I'm going to swallow my own ego. I'm going to swallow my own pride. I'm going to let him make the decisions. I'm going to pretend I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to present the facts like I know how, but I'm going to become a non-decision maker, and I'm going to put that in the other person's court. I'll be honest, it had a toll on my mental health, because I then started questioning, do I even know what I'm doing?
Yeah.
But my relationship in that workplace became so much easier. So much easier. So it's a real double-edged sword. And I can only imagine how difficult that must be if you're actually in a romantic relationship.
Or even a larger corporation. For example, if you've got a department, you know, you could be working for, say, PwC, you know, Fortune 500 company.
Yeah.
And your boss is a narcissist. He might get results, but if he gets results based off a team who he can blame and then fire and all this, and if no one has the balls to stand up because his boss doesn't actually know what's going on, then it's just a case of formal complaints.
Yeah.
You've received another one. That shit takes time. That could take 6 months to a year. I've heard about it before in other big companies where they do have these sort of people, and it takes so much time to get rid of them, because they might have been with that company for, say, 10 years.
Yeah.
And it's got to the
Who are
point
you to come in and
where
question it?
they're in a position of more power, where people have realised that actually this guy's a cunt. And he's like, he's manipulating people, he's doing this, and everything never seems to be his fault. And I'm the boss, and he's under me, and he's been playing me this whole time.
Yeah.
Bye. Do you know what I mean? And that takes time, because he or she can present themselves in different manners in front of other people. So
I think so. This is a lesson that I've definitely learned over the past year, is that working for smaller companies and owner-proprietor companies as well, that's where the narcissism is fueled, because all of the responsibility is on one person, and that fuels the narcissistic tendency. So I would, again, can't advise it for personal relationships, but certainly with employment relationships, I would say don't avoid smaller companies, but if you're joining a smaller company, make sure that the procedures and there doesn't necessarily have to be an HR department, but you need to make sure that the HR department is there in the sense that the procedures are followed. Because bigger companies, it tends to happen less. Narcissists tend to get away with it less, because you can't treat a person that way. You can't act in a certain way, because there are so many levels that it has to trickle through. There are so many sort of people that are responsible for a whole thing. So if I was to give one bit of advice out of this, if you're looking for a job, it would be to just try and check that the procedures are in place, not necessarily to protect you, but that if there is a narcissist, or if you suspect there's a narcissist, there's a policy in place that means they can't bully you. That you can go through these policies and you can sort of protect yourself.
Yeah.
And I would say that it happens less in a bigger company. Don't let that put you off a smaller company, because the opportunity can be there, the growth can be there, it can be a massively beneficial thing, but it has to be done properly. And even certainly UK laws employment laws, less so UAE laws, but still to a degree, are there to protect an employee. The employee, same as a tenant in Dubai, has more rights than an employer. The courts will always favour, in Dubai, the little person, whether that's the tenant or whether that's the employee. So they're there to protect you, but do not enter into an employment where there's nothing in place. Because how do you react to it? Then you've got no choice but to feed a narcissist ego whilst you're looking for an exit.
Yeah.
And again, I'm just talking about my experience. That's just what I would recommend.
No, it's an important point, because if you don't see the policies that are in place or any form of process, and things just seem to be the CEO kicking about the small company telling people that, you're a dick, you're not doing your job right, then you better get out of there, right?
Yeah. Exactly, man. Exactly. And there are ways of doing it as well. You can look at the boss's experience. Where has the boss come? If this is, I don't want to stereotype, right? But if you're working for someone that has never worked for a big corporation before, has started up their own business, has got investment through it, but has never been in a big corporation that has these rules and regulations in place, how can you expect them to know the right way and the wrong way to treat people? Whereas, let's bring it back to the company you work for now. These are guys that have worked for big corporations their entire life. They started out at agents, they worked their way up, they then started their own agency. They know the right and the wrong way to do things. And that's why working at your company was fucking amazing, man. Like, whatever faults there are with being a real estate broker, you cannot really say a bad thing about the managing directors.
No,
that company.
They've been very helpful.
Because of their past experience. You would hope the way they were raised, the way that they've worked, everything. They know the procedures to put in place. So that would be a red flag for me. An owner-proprietor business with somebody that's not been through a corporate background. We sort of waffled there. We've lost the point a little
well
bit.
said, mate. We're talking about narcissists, and you've given some advice on trying to smell them out. And when you're in an interview process, even at the start, you can sniff it a little bit, right? Because obviously you won't know all these processes at the start.
Yep.
But the kind of questions that you're being asked and the attitude and what they're feeding off,
yep.
Whoever's in charge will be, someone who, like, what are they like? Would you work for this person? Then, well, I guess the question is, what questions do you ask a narcissist to find out that they are a narcissist?
That's a brilliant fucking...
What are those? What is the question? Are you a narcissist? What the fuck? you're fired. You know what I mean? Like, what is the question?
So I think, again, we're not qualified to answer this. If I was in an interview with somebody now, I would be like, so how has your company grown to this point? The way you would then spot a narcissist is a narcissist will turn around and make it about them.
Okay.
Right? Whereas good interviews that I've been to is because we've got this amazing team in place, because of the cooperation, because of all this, because of all that. If they turn around and go, well, yeah, it's my hard work, this is what happened in my interview with my last
That's a
job.
good point then. If you ask them questions unrelated to them,
yes, exactly.
Ask it like 2 or 3, and if they bring it back to themselves,
then it's probably a narcissist.
You need to think about what they're saying, and it sounds like it could be a bit, okay, this guy's a bit funny.
Yeah.
Why is he funny? But of course that would be with smaller things, smaller employment opportunities. Because on the huge companies, you won't be sitting with fucking, Elon Musk when you're getting interviewed, will you?
No, exactly.
Unless it was for that. Or, other large...
Yeah. Saying that, the interview I mentioned last week about the signature?
Yeah.
Right, so the questions I was asking was like, how did you deal with COVID? What plans do you have to roll out to reach the growth that you're planning? All this sort of stuff. And every answer was, I am implementing this. I am doing this. I did this back in COVID to make sure that we get here. I'm like, you've got 50 brokers. And he didn't give any credit to any of those 50 brokers. He was like, I'm now telling all of my brokers that they have to have social media accounts and that I will not tolerate them in this company unless they have a social media account. And this was a proper company that had an HR
There was no
department.
we's.
There's
It was
no
all
we's.
I, and me.
Classic narcissist.
Okay,
exactly,
okay.
Yeah. Classic narcissist.
That's good things to pick up on, man.
Yeah. Good.
Not team players.
Not team players, yeah, exactly, man. Just a narcissist has, as you said, the big ego. They're going to bring everything back to themselves. That would be my key pickup.
Okay.
And I imagine if you go on a date, if all they're doing is talking about themselves, probably a narcissist, right?
Yeah, they show no interest in you, but
Yeah.
I like
Food
this.
for thought, anyway.
I like this. Yeah, it's something to think about. There's people out there, man. We'll get some statistics. But I didn't do that much research.
No, and again, we're not qualified on any of this, so we may be given the worst advice in the world.
I don't think we are.
I don't think we are either.
I think we've had a...
That's a very narcissistic thing of you to say, Daniel.
We don't think we are. But it's all your fault. This is your topic. So you told me to do this topic. No, I personally think that hopefully this has been somewhat useful to everyone else.
Oh, mate, if we just stop one person from working with a narcissist, I will fucking die happy, I tell you that. I will die happy.
And if you want to give us a story about your experience of narcissism, then fucking send it through to our email.
Yep.
It's there on the Spotify, I'm sure. Whatever
Spotify
else.
has actually just introduced a new thing where you can directly write a comment on Spotify now as well. So we would actually love to hear your guys' experience of narcissism if you've ever had it. But also, if you've never experienced a narcissist, let us know. I'd be really curious of that. Actually, that's a question I want to ask you, Dan. Do you think you've ever experienced a narcissist?
I've experienced egotistical bastards, but I don't know if I've personally... I probably haven't personally encountered one, but no, I don't have any examples.
No.
But from other people.
Yeah, fair enough. Just to end on a bit of a funny note then, the guy that I've been referring to in my last employment, this quote that I'm going to say, I've told you this before, is just evidence of how narcissistic he was.
Okay.
He was complaining about another employee answering back to him too often, putting the target of conflict on himself. And his quote was, "I don't want to compare myself to God, but when God asked the angels to kneel, they knelt first and asked questions second. I want you guys to follow my orders first and ask questions second." That, to me, that was like the break. That was probably miles past the breaking point, but that was the breaking point. That is God's honest truth. Maybe I'm paraphrasing a little bit, but that's pretty much word for word what he fucking said. That is as narcissistic as you can fucking get. Surely.
I love that.
Surely. But he didn't even think twice about saying it. I don't want to compare myself to God, but I'm going to compare myself to God.
That is nuts, mate. I don't know what to say, it's ridiculous.
Insane. So yeah, hopefully this has been helpful for you.
You live and learn. You
live and learn, exactly, yeah. So hopefully you are learning from our experiences. Next week is going to be our 20th episode. Maybe we get a bottle of champers or something to celebrate.
Fucking hell.
We'll do something big. Thank you for listening, guys. We're also about to break 1,000 listeners, which is huge because it's just two of us sat in my shitty apartment talking nonsense, and 1,000 people have listened to it. Or we've been listened to 1,000 times. I don't know what the difference is.
You got to thank them for that. Keep us going and send us in your queries. We want to hear something, even if it's unrelated. Just send us something.
Send us something. Let us know there's some engagement. We feed off it. Yeah, we're narcissists. We need it. Fuel our egos.
Give us some attention, please.
So yeah, thank you very much for listening. As always, you can email us brobrokers2@gmail.com. Catch us on Instagram, 2brobrokers. Spotify now does comments. Please, also, I'd like to ask, if you are listening, if you have been listening, leave us a review on whatever podcast you're listening to. It goes a really long way. It gets us circulated more. Recommend us to your friends. And that's it, guys. Not sure what we'll be discussing next week, but we'll think of something.
We'll figure something
good
out.
And yeah, thanks for listening, guys.
Yeah, catch you later.
Adios, amigos.
Bye, trips.